So, as I explained, we've been doing this for a long while. This is our 9th event, right? Usually technology is new, it's exciting. People come in, they want to learn all about it. They learn it, and then they start to not care. It gets boring. And the question is WebRTC still interesting, right, after all this time? So obviously, most of you, I think, believe that is the case. But I recently did a blog post on WebRTC hacks to try to take a look at the open source community on GitHub and analyze to see actually what are the trends over time with usage with WebRTC. And this actually shows active users, people who actually touched or did something with a WebRTC repo out there, and you can see that over time. And it's important to remember the whole development community is moving to open source. There's a lot more stuff on GitHub, so you really need to normalize it against the GitHub base. But the exciting thing is, in doing this analysis, actually WebRTC is still going strong. In fact, you can see actually there was a little bit of resurgence in 2019 where it's ahead of the baseline on GitHub. And I think some of the more exciting parts is it's not only the existing projects and repos that are doing well, but there's a number of new projects and repos that didn't even exist a year or two ago. And I think that's a really great indicator of the health of the WebRTC community, the fact that it is pulling in new groups. There's still new projects that are still growing, and it's very exciting.
Okay. Now, Chad looked at GitHub. I decided to look at Stack Overflow. The reason I did that is because I'm lazy. Stack Overflow has a way that we can just put tags and see the results. What you see here is WebRTC against SIP and VoIP in general on Stack Overflow, the number of questions. Now, two things. It's still growing, slowly but growing, which is a good thing, so it's still interesting. People care about it. But the more interesting thing, or not more interesting, but important, we're below 0.1%. Okay? It's a niche. The market that we're in is a niche, a very important niche, but a niche nonetheless. So when we started building this specific event for this specific day, we thought about what goes on in the industry today. Where do you see the conversations happening? A lot of them happen around WebRTC 1.0, which is almost here. And then a lot of it is also around what comes next, WebRTC NV, next version. And we try to make a mixture of these two sessions, or these two topics, within the sessions that you will see today. One thing that I'm very happy that we have this time, and that's mostly because of Chad, we have all the browser vendors today in the room going to sit here in a panel and talk about WebRTC. Two things. The first, I encourage you to listen. And the second thing, I encourage you to harass them in the break right after that with your own questions. They're here the whole day. They are here to actually get that feedback from you. So be there with them and for them. Two other sessions that we're going to have are around the standard evolution. Google have their own yearly session that they do every year around the WebRTC.org implementation and where is that headed. They're going to do that this year as well. And we've got Philip Henke from WebRTC Hacks, which will discuss MDNS and the changes that it brings with it. We're going to have a session about security from Project Zero and the fuzzing project that they've done on WebRTC, with some good suggestions and recommendations of what you should, as developers, on top of WebRTC to secure your own applications. We're going to have 4 different sessions today on what we decided to call hacking WebRTC. It doesn't mean that people here are starting to hack WebRTC and we're back to the Project Zero session. It's more about taking WebRTC, looking at the code base and making changes to it that fit the use cases that you need to do and how that get applied. These are actual things that these companies and vendors are doing today in production. We're also going to have 4 additional sessions around emerging use cases with WebRTC. This is a topic that I like most because it's the most surprising one. Here you will hear different vendors talking about what they are doing with WebRTC, things that I didn't think about or we didn't think about as an industry when we started that route. And that brings with it a whole set of different headaches and requirements that we have from WebRTC. And with that, we're going to start the day. So thank you.